Hey everyone, I've been really waiting to make this video. We have stuff to talk about, so let's get on to it. Firstly, let's quickly cover the map, just so you know, and I really like this period a lot better. Instead of when there is an active action, you know, then all the activities on the front pages of pretty much any newspaper, whereas when there is a lull in the war, then some kind of like closer following actually brings you some kind of a payback. So in this case, I've been closely following the movements of the troops of the Russians, and now I more or less understand what's the plan is and what the analytics say. So firstly, let's cover around Kharkiv area. Russians want to push there, Ukrainians want to push there. None of them have really some forces. We know that Russians have been a little bit reinforced, but not by a lot. So, and the initiative right now is in the Russian hand, but it seems that this is a parity over here, at least so far. And mostly it's just missile strikes around against Kharkiv. Now the east direction. So we know that the ultimate target of the Russians is to take this. This is the administrative region of Donetsk, therefore occupying the whole of Donbass. Their major obstacles is the chain, because while Lysychansk is Luhansk area is mostly free of settlements, Donetsk region is a lot more urbanized, and the biggest problem for the Russians is this chain of towns. Well, plus Bakhmut, because it's kind of supported by it. So this chain of towns is basically all urbanized area with some exceptions, and this is a really hard target for them to crack, and we'll see how they will approach this. But I've been following, and since we last kind of talked, we knew that there is groupings, one around Liman, one around Izium, one around Severodonetsk-Rubezhne, the one that we're attacking, and then one from Popasna. So we know that these were trying to encircle, and then these were pushing in, and then these guys were trying to push in here, and then these guys pushing in. So that was when the Donetsk got, so not Donetsk, but Severodonetsk and Lysychansk got encircled. So there has been some troop movements right now, and I will show you the new positions of the troops and what is their essentially plan of attack, because following the reports and their kind of probing activities that they're executing now, preparing for some kind of action, therefore it kind of outlined the whole plan to me very clearly. I'm gonna get a little bit closer so we get the smaller villages here. So we know that the Izium direction is a little bit to the top here. So that's from the Izium direction they want to attack here. So the Liman direction, they actually moved a little bit to the south and to the right here. And now they're kind of supporting with fire along the riverbank, so around this Serebranka area and so on. And then this grouping from Lysychansk and Severodonetsk has actually now been pushing kind of here. So right alongside this river, they want to help secure the river crossing for the Liman grouping, so then they can get reinforced and then kind of move together to Slavyansk. Secondly, there is also the oh my god, why it doesn't move? Okay, I will just turn it off. So secondly, we know that there is the grouping that I was saying, so they're moving, they want to try attack along the river. Then there is the second kind of grouping from Popasna, and they want to attack towards this direction. And we know that from the south some forces kind of come in, so there is like another grouping here. It's more kind of longer one, and they want to attack more around this direction. So what does this bring us to? Well, Russia, and yeah, obviously from Izium, yes. So obviously the ultimate target is to siege Slavyansk, cut this road, probably cut this road. That's kind of their main purposes. But what Russia is expecting is essentially to do two encirclements right now. So the first one is we're looking, this grouping, they look to kind of go here and get this part, and they also, part of it will go here because there has been also movement from the south, so they want to close this part. Then from this center grouping, around Krasnohora, they want to go around and they want to cut it here and then ideally connect. So they want to kind of get this encirclement, and then they're attacking from the top and they're attacking from the bottom. So they're looking essentially to then get like this and get the second encirclement. That is pretty much the plan of the Russians that is outlining right now, judging by their troops and their by attack patterns and so on, because they're trying to do pushes rather than like kind of, you know, coming up in a siege. So they're tying the pockets with fire and then trying to, and this has been also said by the analysts what is about to essentially unfold. But this is the plan. Obviously, how this plan will be realized is unknown. Additional movement from the Russians, I'm just going to quickly cover, has been they want to cut this road, so they're moving this direction, and they kind of want to move this south, but this is generally their direction. They want to kind of close towards this. I guess they want to try to cut this road because this road supplies Avdiivka here. That is a big defensive point for the Ukrainians. That is the east. And towards Kherson, here the Ukrainian troops are going to prepare for attacks, but I'm not going to tell anything about the Ukrainian troop movements because I want to support Ukraine rather than. The only thing I will say is that there has been videos saying that the long columns and trains are heading towards Kherson, so the Russians are reinforcing this area with additional armor. So let's talk the other part. Let's go. I think we should stay on Kherson a little bit longer because most of this talk is going to center around this area. So we can summarize this by what one Russian propagandist said. He was overwhelmingly impressed because he was around Novokakhovka, where a couple of days ago, depending on when you're watching, or a day ago, or maybe it was yesterday if you're watching it yesterday, never mind. But the point is that the guy was seeing that explosion and he saw how the rockets were hitting the target. And he was so impressed by how one rocket basically hit the same spot as the previous one. And he then said that he visited the positions where the Russian Uragans, it's multiple rocket launch systems from Russia, and they were firing. He said that he visually saw how the missiles were just spreading apart. So that made a huge impression on him, and obviously his voices this sense of danger, like sense of unease, is also being felt by a lot of Russians. And I'm not being the only one who notices that, and there are actually people that are following this, that are also following the Russian kind of unconscious thinking and like discussions around their Telegram channels are saying that it feels that the Russians are essentially starting morally to bleed. They are seeing that they're inside, they are seeing the potential of losing this war. So they are finally being hit by something. And the problem with Himars systems and these multiple rocket launch systems is not that they're uncounterable. Like I'm going to talk a little bit later that Russia is trying to counter them. What the problem is that it feels that nothing can be done against them. So it's a shock and terror that is spreading throughout the Russians, which is great because if the common population is feeling this, then the military will feel this, and therefore it's going to make a job easier for the Ukrainians. Again, this is not something that is completely confirmed, so you can take it with a grain of salt if you want. But I and other people that are following some of the Russian communications are definitely noticing this. Importantly, I think one of the most devastating for the Russians is that these rockets were being detected striking against the anti-air missile systems, like top of the line, like S-400s and so on. Missile systems. So basically, there is an argument to be made. Like if they're supposed to take them down, maybe Ukrainians were hiding them or some other trickery. That is not the point. The point that is that it feels that nothing can stop them, that even the weapons that's supposed to counter them don't counter them. And that is the kind of spreading of that fear factor, and it's working really well. So right now, Russians are really overthinking the situation. The Russian command is trying to do something about it, and I'm going to talk about it, but more importantly is to see what Ukraine is trying to do about this. So as Ukraine struck Russia, they see two very important points. Firstly, I already talked about the moral point of the fact that the Russians are wavering, that their morale and that common unconscious is now being kind of struck. They're feeling the fear, they're starting to bleed morally. And that is important. And I think the Ukrainians are taking the initiative. They are putting the messages up about, yes, we're coming, like Kherson is next and so on. So they're putting that additional moral pressure, like Zelensky ordered to develop a plan to capture Kherson. Like, not that he needed to say it publicly, right? It's just a statement. Like the war command could have done it anyway. It doesn't matter. But importantly, what we know is that everything that we expected so far, even like, as I say, remember last video I talked about that the Himars, they're striking not only the facilities where the weapons and ammo is stored, but also killing the officers. Just right now, we have a complete confirmation that top 3 officers, basically, of the whole Kherson operation got killed by a Himars strike because they all were together, right? So a chain of command is broken, and this is momentum, right? This is momentum. A lot of the war that the specialists and the experts are saying is that war is very often about momentum. And in this momentum, Ukraine is definitely taking the initiative. They are definitely preparing the ground in practical terms because, like, Russians are getting hit very hard, and it's costing them. I'm gonna quickly show this map. So this map shows basically, I saw it on some analyst. He's very notorious. I wouldn't recommend anyone listening to him too much. Who knows this map will know who I'm talking about. But the point is that this is, though the map at least is very nice. This is the strikes on Ukrainian territory by the Russians 4 days apart, before Himars and after Himars started striking. So there is a significant difference here, if you notice. And importantly, we know that this seems that smart weapons has proven themselves to be important and valuable, and we know that now the smart artillery pieces are making its way to Ukraine. Just recently, there have been video confirmations that first M777 howitzers, they were supplied without this smart tracking GPS navigation systems. So there was noticeable part of that system missing. Right now, we already saw those systems with the smart navigation system. So smart ammo is getting its way into Ukraine. We know that Excalibur rounds are getting its way, so that is great. And more importantly to that, German and US deliveries done and planned in the near future have been laid out. And important is not part what's around those deliveries, what will be delivered, what will not be delivered. The important part is what is inside and what is listed. There is less artillery because it seems that Ukrainians are knowing what to do with artillery. The important part is what the experts are saying, that what the contents of this is literally the offensive package. It's like a happy meal for executing an attack maneuver. It's armored vehicles to move troops faster. It's close and medium range mobile air defenses, such as Stingers, such as Gepard vehicles, and other things, right? To not go into the full list. But the point is that this creates a very understandable package for attacking maneuver that Ukraine is preparing to execute. It seems that if the plan that Zelensky set out was not set for just to instinct fear, but actually deliver it, then in about a month and a half, we actually might see this plan being executed. So what can Russia do about this? About Himars? Well, they're definitely trying. The Himars missiles, while very precise, they're not like indestructible. This is not some magic weapon. They're not that smart, to say the least. But Ukrainians are using very nice tactics there. Like, for example, they are jamming essentially the anti-air systems, or they're like misleading them by using some simpler missile strikes beforehand, and so on and so on. So it's common knowledge by now. We also know that they're trying to buy in more drones from the Iran, because what they want to do is to use those drones to have the surveillance of the area where the Himars are most likely to appear and then track them. We also know that their early warning, basically AWACS planes are now again flying in Belarus. So they're trying to essentially get every bit of information that they can to try and deal with Himars. So they are definitely putting effort to this, but they haven't solved this issue now. And now it's the window of opportunity for the Ukrainians. While they're able to suppress the Russian advance, that means only one thing: they have time to prepare and stockpile the ammunition and prepare for the advance. What Russia is doing very nicely, and recently it's stuck with popularity, is supporting some kind of a scandal discussing that, Ukraine is actually selling the weapons that they are getting. They're actually already sold, like Caesars and so on and so on. Yeah, it's all complete bullshit. It's all complete propaganda. Ukraine has a very robust network. I can imagine maybe some equipment being sold here and there, especially when we're talking volunteers, like selling a couple of helmets and so on. But when we're talking big, expensive equipment, Ukraine is fighting for its survival. And the people there, they have their lives on the line. So the command is not joking around. And again, even one or two weapons gets, I don't know, maybe lost somewhere. That is normal. Maybe it gets stuck and then captured in full. Wow, what a surprise. Everything might happen. It's war, right? But the good news is that in general perspective, if you take off the propaganda that Russia is peddling, if you stop overthinking this, support Ukraine, they're doing great. Russia is definitely feeling the stink. They are seeing essentially their end already right now. The Russians are having the really fear, they feeling the tingling of that word, defeat. And they are starting to acknowledge it.